Hey guys, Sav here with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and in today's video we have a brand new Winter's Hero Path to take a look at, to break down, to figure out what is it going to cost us to get this anniversary tokens for what everyone was calling the free Tormin, which I think now we're all getting to the realization that maybe it wasn't as free as we thought it was going to be. I don't know if I actually ever called it free. If I did, that's a mistake. It's not ever going to be free. There's always going to be a cost associated with trying to do this. So right at the start of the Yuletide event that we've got now going on, it's probably about 2 weeks left on it. I did expect there to be some sort of hero path. I didn't know what kind of components would be involved, but I did expect we would get one somewhere with the region of 250 to 350 anniversary tokens. That's what they did with the Ultimate Death Knight. It's the same thing that we've got here. You can see 20, 20, 30, 40, 40, and 50, 50. It is about 250. So it's actually on the lower end of what I was expecting. The path is quite complicated because you are going to have to go down multiple paths just to get these tokens. You can't just go down path left or right. You're going to have to go down both a little bit. You don't necessarily need to get both of these ancient shards, but you're going to need to get one of them. Then you can go down all three paths to get the anniversary tokens. But again, you don't necessarily need to get the primal shard and the essence. You can pick whichever one is most beneficial to you. And again, you don't have to go anywhere any further down below this sort of line here if you don't want these sort of extremely premium rewards. The way you're going to get coins, snow coins for this one, is you're going to be doing champion training, dungeon divers, and then summoning souls. Now the summoning souls is not on its own because it just doesn't generate enough points. I have done a little bit of a check. They haven't changed these points. These are how they always are from other hero paths, so we haven't been disadvantaged by having 3 different types of events. Pretty much whenever you do a hero's path, there's one way to do it and the other way supplements it. This way is probably going to be champion training, unless you want to spend a lot or you've been saving up a lot of soul stones. Champion training is probably the way that you're going to do it. Dungeon divers always proves to be the worst way of generating snow coins. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through all the different ways to get points. We're going to work out how much energy it's going to cost you to actually get the anniversary tokens. And I've also got some other paths configured if you want to try and get some of these other rewards, like maybe you don't care about Tormin and you're just going for the legendary book or the sacred shard or the mythical tomes, or that's kind of like what you want to do. So let's head over to the Excel and let's start breaking it down. So if nobody has seen a previous hero path breakdown video that I've done, what I tend to do is I pull it into this Excel document, I map out all of the rewards and all of the costs, and then I try to generate paths that I think are most relevant to players depending on their progress and what really they're looking for. So in this instance here, you can see I've got all these rewards. We've got some gems, we've got some shards, there's some artifact ascension oil, this chaos ore, we've also got some immortal soul essence, and then obviously these mythical tomes and sacred shards and legendary books. So I've created 4 paths that I think are going to be most relevant to you. We have the anniversary points, which I think 95% of the people watching this video are going to be caring about the most, right? Most people are going to be like, what do I need to get my Tormin? That's all I really care about. That's going to cost you 53,300 points in total to get all of the anniversary tokens. Now, you don't need to get them all. You can skip 500, but keep in mind the 500 you skip doesn't include the free 500 you get. That is 500 from events that you can skip. The 500 is going to need to be kept on top. So if you, like me, have skipped some events already, I skipped the artifact enhancement event because I just really didn't want to go 5,600 points into it. I can skip a total of 450 points. So there's 250 points here. So I've got to keep that in mind. So you might choose to do some of that 53,000, but if you want all of the anniversary points here, it's 53,300. If you don't care about the anniversary, you just want a legendary book, the cheapest path is about 39,800. But if you want that both legendary books, you'll need to add another 21,000 on top of that. If you just want one mythical book, it's about 84,800. And again, if you want both, add another 20,000 on top. And if you just want the sacred shard, it's about 64,800. Those are the 4 paths that I've configured. I would highly suggest to people don't go for the mythical tomes. It's very expensive. And I would suggest even the legendary book's not so bad. But if you are going to go for the legendary book, why not pick some of those anniversary tokens along the way, just so you can get some of the free rewards, even if you're not going for Tormin. So we map these into the full rewards here. So we can see there's 2 mythical tomes. There's 2 6-star legendary chaos ores. We've got a speed cliff. It's pretty sort of reward light for a hero's path, but that's because the majority of there's a number of chunks taken for the anniversary tokens, of which we have 250. That's going to cost you in total 19,300 to get all those points. So the easiest one to start with first is the soul coins. Soul coins are pretty straightforward to work out. You get 100, 1,500, 7,500 depending on the tier. What I've actually done in this spreadsheet is broken it down based on the prices that it's going to cost you. I've put a monetary value against it. These are the pack prices that Plarium set, not myself. I would not buy it on these sort of price points here, but this is what you can typically find in a pack. There is some variance. Sometimes you get a little bit lower, sometimes it's a little bit higher, but it's roughly these prices here. So we can translate that over then into these point requirements that we've set out here. And we can see that if you want to get your anniversary tokens, the best way to do it is either immortal or eternal, because 533 mortal coins is a hell of a lot of mortal stones. That's basically your annual amount of free coin stones you're going to get, or like I think it's like 6 months, based on Hydra top end and Iron Twins, doing it every single day. But actually, when you apply the monetary value, it's actually more cost effective if we translate all those stones into how much it would have cost me to buy them. Immortal, the tier 2, is where it really is at. $124 versus $177 from Eternal and $533 from Mortal. So very much like normal shards, where the Void Shard typically is pretty good for Hero's Path, except for the last one where they nuked the points. Immortal is also very good here for this this kind of situation. So if you've got a lot of soul coins, that's how many it's going to cost you. Now, the next straightforward thing to work out is dungeon divers. We can pull out the exact amount of snow coins we're going to get per artifact type we get, whether it's 5-star legendary, 6-star legendary. And then we take these points and we map it against the percentage probabilities per stage of getting each of those sort of rank and rarities. That basically translates then into an individual coin distribution on that stage, and we can work out then how much snow coins we're going to get on average per stage. So you can see here that on a single run, 10 hard is always going to reward you more on average. Why? Because you get a higher rate of 6-star legendaries, you get a higher rate of mythicals, so therefore overall per run you're going to get more snow coins. What really matters the most though is when you apply it to the cost per run. So even though 10 hard gives you more per run, the actual additional energy doesn't translate to the best efficient stage. And what works out, it kind of like works backwards in the sense that stage 16 is the most energy efficient snow coin per energy. However, 16 requires you to run substantially more runs. So what I tend to advise people is stage 20 is the good balance between time and energy. You might have to spend maybe an extra 100 energy, but you will save yourself a couple of 100 stage 20 runs, which you wouldn't have to do from stage 16. 10 hard is good for the actual quality of gear, but it always results in being worse in terms of just getting dungeon or tournament or event points in essence. Then we go to the training. The training is a little bit more complicated to work out. The way that I do this is I determine if I want to create champions. So if I want to make rank 6 champions, or if I want to make rank 5 champions, if I want to make food. So what we can do is we basically work out from a rank 2 perspective, how many rank 2s do we need to make a rank 3 to make a rank 4 to then make one rank 5? That's if we're going for the food sort of stage. And then how many of that rank 5s into a rank 6 if we want to make an actual champion. Along the way, we are partially leveling some champions. This is a very good way of acquiring sort of an efficiency scale of points per resource cost. I don't tend to do rank 3, even though there is a slightly more efficient way, just because I feel like it's extra time that I don't want to spend. But I definitely would recommend you take your rank food up to rank 14. I think that's either 2 brews or like 4 runs in 12-3. And then your rank 5 champions, the champions you're going to feed, should go up to rank 25. Even though you're going to feed those champions, it feels like it makes no sense. You actually gain substantial amount of points that it's worth doing. So that's what I would recommend you do. And of course, there is a dungeon divers component involved in this hero's path. So even though we might be doing some things with bros, we could likely and very likely are going to be running some campaign, and that is going to give us a contribution of dungeon diver points as well. So I've pulled out the average cost and the average opportunities of getting artifacts. This includes the odds of when you don't get an artifact, and we can map that against the average snow coin per run on both 12-3 Brutal and 12-6 Nightmare. I do 12-3 Brutal because it gives you good silver, it's triple dipping. I'm getting snow coins, champion training, dungeon divers, and I'm also getting the best silver rate. And we do 12-6 Nightmare purely because 12, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 has substantially higher defenses. So people run 12-6 Nightmare because it has significantly lower defenses. It's much easier to run. That's why there's a difference in the stage. Some people have said in the past, you should compare them like for like, but I think most people, if they're going to run Brutal, they will run 12-3 for the extra silver because shields sell for more. I also only ever do the calculations here based on having an XP boost. I don't include the raid card or any forge pass, and I don't include like not having a boost, because I think if you're doing training, you have a boost. So we can then take these figures and we can work out how many runs is it going to take. So if we're doing food farming, we're generating rank 5s, then it's going to cost us around about 129 brutal 12-3 runs at a cost of 1,034 energy. But we will get a bonus 1,300 snow coins from the dungeon divers. That's why it's an important consideration. It does add up. Now, if we're running 12-6 Nightmare, we can substantially reduce our runs down to 57. Energy is about 120 less. You probably save a refill per rank 5, and you will basically get less dungeon diver points, 869. But even though you get less dungeon diver points, because you are saving energy and everything else, it does work out that Nightmare is just better here. We also have then the option if we want to make champions. This is going to require us a lot more campaign running, because we need to make a rank 6 champion. You can see the XP goes up from 3.3 million to 19.7 million. So we'll need to run 761 12-3 or 337 runs of 12-6 Nightmare. That translates to 6,000 energy, and then that translates to these extra dungeon divers. So you can see just making a rank 6 champion is going to get us somewhere between 5,000 to 8,000 bonus dungeon diver points on average. So if we want to do these paths, then we can plug the numbers in and we can work out exactly how many champions we're going to need to make, and we can see the contribution of the campaign. So if we were just doing it through brews, we weren't running campaign, you'd need to make somewhere in the region of 2.14 rank 6 champions if you're making champions. Now, obviously, you can't make 0.14 of a champion. What that means is you're going to need to do a bit of excess food farming on top of the 2 rank 6s you're going to make. And if you want to do food, making rank 5 champions, you'll need to make just under 11 rank 5s. If you are, however, doing it in campaign exclusively, you can see you're going to save yourself about 0.5 of a champion, and you're going to save yourself about 2.5 here, right? It's going to save you a lot of champion requirements if you're running campaigns. It's about 8 rank 5 champions, or 8.5, about 1.5 rank 6 champions here. So let's take this into an analysis and just kind of work out, okay, now that we have all that information mapped out, what is the best way to do this? Well, dungeon divers is not the best way. It is awful. If you want to make it on the most efficient way, so the most efficient way to get all of your anniversary tokens on the best stage to run it, that would be stage 20. That's going to require you to run 1,700 stage 20 runs to the tune of 27,000 energy. That is to get your anniversary tokens. This hero's path is not designed by doing dungeon divers. It's designed to offset, but it'll never be the way you do it. In terms of souls, that is one way you can do it, but as I said, it's going to cost you somewhere in the region of 35 immortal soul stones if you want to do it the most efficient way. The way you're probably going to approach this is champion training. 99% of players are going to approach this as champion training unless you're sitting on tons of soul stones, and you're going to use dungeon divers and souls to offset the training requirements. So what I've built here is a kind of a calculator to do this. So firstly, how much energy is it going to require us? Well, this is based on 6 Nightmare at the moment. This is what I would be running, and it would tell me I need to run around about 9,578 or 8,500 energy, depending on what I am doing. Making food is more efficient than making champions in this sort of sector. However, if I want to change it to, instead of doing Nightmare, let's have a look at what it would be on Brutal. Well, we can change it as such. So we can see here, it's going to cost us more energy at 9.8k and 8.8k. Not substantial. It doesn't really matter if you're running 12-3 Brutal or 12-6 Nightmare. You will just save yourself a lot more time on Nightmare and a little bit more energy, but it will it's about the same requirements here. So what you can do though is you can offset it. So like me, for example, I've already pulled some souls. I had 19 mortal soul stones and 1 immortal. I've made this little offset calculator here, and you can basically pick which path you want. So if you didn't want to go for the anniversary tokens, but you wanted the legendary books, that will reduce the amount of points you need, and you can see how much training you're going to need to do. I'm going to save this as a Google Sheet in the description of this video and as the first pinned comment. So if you want to make a copy, you can do so. You can use it to track how much you're going to need to do. If you want to basically reduce the amount of points you're going to need here, maybe you're not going for those last sort of 100 points, you can just modify this number. You can see the formula at the top here. Just modify this number, and then that will basically recalculate everything for you. So if I'm looking at mine here, I'm looking at 19 and 1. You can see that's going to save me 3,500 snow coins. So I'm going to have to spend somewhere in the region of 8.2 to 9.2 thousand energy if I want to get all of those anniversary tokens. And that is far less than the 27,000 for the dungeon divers, right? It's going to cost me 25,000 with this offset. Now, the other thing I just want to do quickly is talk about the snow coin pack that pops up every time we see this hero's path. because it pops it at a price that is probably on the low scale for what most packs come in Raid Shadow Legends these days at $10. And the question really comes, is it worth me doing champion training, or should I just buy one of these packs and get myself halfway there? Is the pack worth more than buying energy? It's only really a conversation if you are looking to buy an energy pack to do training, because if you're just going to use your own resources, well, that's a monetary cost not being offset by anything. But if your choice was between buying soul stones or buying this snow coins pack, or buying energy for dungeon divers or energy for training, is it actually going to pay off? So the way that we work this out is we basically take the total requirements for all the anniversary tokens, which is 5,300, and we divide it with the energy that we require in champion training. So in my situation here, I'm going to need 8,275. That's the most cheapest energy cost it's going to cost me. And I divide it with that. That means roughly the energy sort of contribution, the coin per energy of this 8,275 is around about 6.4. We can then basically work out the Immortal Soul Stones. That's just a flat 1,500 because that's the cheapest. Tier 2 stones are the cheapest way to do it. And then for Dungeon Divers, we're doing exactly the same thing, but instead we're dividing it with the 25,417. And that's basically giving us a 2.10 coin per energy for Dungeon Divers. So you can quite clearly see straight away that training is way better than Dungeon Divers in this instance. Then we can translate that using our pack offer calculator to work out how much of that kind of cost the coin per energy translates into a monetary value. Like how much is that worth in dollars? And then we can actually take that figure and multiply it with the coins that we're given. So we can take this sort of the average energy cost of doing it training and divide it with the coins that we're getting from the coin pack to work out how much sort of money it would cost us to get the same amount of coins if we were just running training, right? So if we were buying the energy and then running training, how much would that translate to in terms of the value of 9,500? So what you can see here then, it means that training will basically, that 9,500 is equivalent to $6.78 if I was to buy the energy for that doing training. If I was trying to buy the stones, it would cost me $22. And if I was buying the energy to do dungeon dives, it would cost me 20.84. So what that means is if the pack is worth $10 and I'm buying it to do souls, souls are not worth buying. The pack is worth buying, right? The pack is going to give me more coins per dollar than if I was to buy stones. Same as if I was doing dungeon divers. If I wanted to farm spider, then it's more it's basically better money, it's better spend for me to just buy the snow coins outright than buy energy and run spider. However, training is better to buy the energy. So if you're doing training, it's better to buy energy to train champions rather than buy the snow coins outright, because you will get more coins per the energy that you spend. That I just wanted to do a quick analysis of that because I think it's sometimes difficult to sort of equate, is that 9,500 worth it? Well, it's only really worth it if you don't want to do training. Then it's worth doing. And it's obviously this is only against if you were trying to make a decision between buying energy packs or buying snow coin packs. So there you go, guys. That is the breakdown. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I actually think this is like quite skippable to some extent, because I wouldn't necessarily skip the whole thing. I would see if I could get this 20, 20, and 30 if I was playing casually. If I was still going for Torment, but I didn't want to have to go super hard, I would aim for this 20, 20, and 30. That would give you a total of 70 points out of the 250. So you're still skipping some things, but you're not investing tremendously. There's only a small amount of points, right? You're basically going 500, 500, 1,000, 1,500, and 2,300 here and 2,000 here. It's not an awful lot. If you can get an extra 40, then cool. But I would definitely say if you want to skip this 100, because this is where the cost really ramps up, then maybe skipping 100 points here is probably worthwhile. But just keep in mind, you can only skip 500. So if you've already skipped like the 200 from the Summon Rush, and then you skip another 100 here, you're running out of points available, and you might be forced into an event you can't do and miss out when you could potentially do this if you just put more effort into the training. There is still 2 weeks left, right? We've only had, I think, 700 points of the 2,500 points. So we're not even halfway through yet. So if you skip too much too early, you will be forced into a difficult situation. I definitely think as well this middle path looks more expensive, but this lesser oil is more valuable than the epic book and the gems, because this is energy that you'd have to spend farming, and it is a valuable resource for end game gearing, you know, late to end game gearing. But this mortal essence is quite valuable as well over these two shards, right? This is probably more valuable than a void shard because it's much harder to get immortal soul essence. So I don't know, guys. I'm going to be trying to get at least to this middle row here. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way down to get this 100. I might skip 100. I've only skipped so far the 50 from the artifact enhancement because it was so expensive and I didn't have any silver available to me. So I skipped that one. So I've got 450 points I can skip. If I skip another 100, I'd be on 350. So I don't really want to go below 300 until I'm at least halfway through, just in case they throw a deck of fates at us, and I don't really want to have to go hard on that, or a really bad summon rush or summon chase or something of this nature. I don't want to go hard on one of those events. I want a bit of leeway and flexibility to still get Tormin, because I don't have Tormin. So there we go. There we go, guys. Let me know in the comments below. Are you going for it? Are you skipping it? How are you finding it so far? I will say, I think a lot of people said this was a free Tormin. I don't know if I ever said this was a free Tormin. I don't think I did. It was never going to be free. It was always going to cost you something. Even the Ultimate Death Knight events and the Sun Wukong Titan events, they cost you something. So it was always going to cost you a little bit. I saw this Hero's Path coming. So far, I'm a bit on the fence as to whether or not it's pay to win. I don't think it's too bad so far, but it could become worse as we get deeper and deeper into the event. We'll have to see what happens. But there we go. Good luck if you're going for it. You know, training is not a bad thing to work on. There's always champions you want to prepare for, especially with City and Citranos coming. It looks like you're going to need a lot of champions for that. So leveling up some of those champions that have been on the back burner for a while maybe is a good idea. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.